Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another weekly DaaS Sales Workshop. Just give it another minute or two, let some people trickle in here in the waiting room. All righty. Well, I'm sure some others will join soon. We'll get ready and kick it on off. All right, guys, as I just mentioned a second ago, another weekly DaaS Sales Workshop. Oh, hold on. Let me solve a problem. Perfect. We'll go with no dog disruptions. And guys, obviously, this is the weekly workshop that revolves highly around sales. Now, we talk about sales more specifically toward the DaaS program and toward data as a service, but all kinds of sales training. A couple weeks ago, when I did that one about how to create the best sales presentations, I made it relatable to the data, but that's sales training for any specific niche and industry, and we cover a lot of that. So today, I'm going to go through a bit of a lesson, some sales training, and then I'm going to save some time for Q&A about anything to do specifically with the DaaS. You guys currently taking sales calls and taking calls that want to get better. I had one, I don't see him on here yet this week. Eric, who's in our DaaS program, had asked me the other day if I could do one of his call recordings, and somehow he lost the audio, but he had the transcription. So he sent that over. I was going to maybe go through and give him a little feedback. But if you guys do call recordings, that's much better than a transcript. I can review a transcript, but I can do a call audit much better off of a recording, and I prefer that. But those are things you could submit, and I can review, and we can also go back through on these calls, and I could break those down here occasionally. But today we're going to go through a bit of a sales lesson, as I mentioned, and then dive through a bit of a Q&A for anything that you guys want me to cover in addition, any questions you have, relevant to pricing, overcoming objections, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to dive right into that. Let me just check one more time and make sure we got nobody in the waiting room before I screen share and go into all that stuff. Oh, and what I always do at the beginning of these, because each week it seems like we have some new people, or maybe you guys don't always have the link. So really quickly, what I want to dive into and what I share with each week on here, and let me just, there's somebody in the waiting room before I share the link and say it all again. Let's just let them come in. But this is our best resource that I put together. Again, guys, this is nothing aesthetically appeasing or pretty. I just took the best 7 resources that we have used to build our data as a service sales team up to the multi-million we do in annual revenue. How we're doing over 6 figures a month in new revenue and new business, just selling strictly data plans, and how I've built dozens and dozens of sales teams. This one is specific to DaaS, right? But number 1 and 2, the sales process and kind of the tutorial overview of this document is the second one. This is kind of universal to multiple sales process. Again, this one's just in this objective. Then I include current emails, messaging, creative and copy, and things we use in our marketing aspects of things. Our triage call framework document, our sales call or our demo call, framework, the pitch deck that we give you guys in the data as a service launch book if you're a DaaS client. If you're just an incubator client or in the other school community and you're not yet a client, you get access to some of these things even here in this document that I give away. And some further tools, strategy, and pricing tips specifically particular to the Pixel. I go a little bit into audiences here as well. Any of you guys in the DaaS modules who have either probably in the DaaS program have either had your one-on-one call with me or saw the the DaaS launch book and the videos breaking all that down. But this just goes in depth in a quick 20 minutes rather than like a 45-minute overview of a more lengthy video that Trojan Horse offered template 1 was. So anyway, all these resources, I like to just include them. These are the 7 most prevalent things that our data as a service clients, our vertical takedown agency partners that we help build agencies with. These are the resources that over and over again people build out that gets results and gets data deals done. So I'm going to go right now and drop this in the chat and just share this with everybody. And that is there. There's a couple of questions in here, comments. Appreciate this. Hey, by the way, autofocus on your cameras constantly making you blurry and not. Oh, okay. I'll look into that. Thank you. It's not even a normal webcam. It's like an aftermarket cam, but I'll check it out. Thank you. Hey Ray, your offer stack deliverables listed anywhere in the resources. So is your offer stack deliverables? Jason, can you just unmute for a minute and specify what you're asking there?
Yeah, absolutely, Ray. Thanks so much. So we're go to market with this, and so we're just looking to compare what people are bringing to market in terms of the actual stack. Meaning, for X amount of dollars, you're getting A, B, C, D, and then maybe what the downsell or the upsell looks like, so that we can sort of compare ourselves. Like,
Sure. Yeah. We have stuff like that, and I can send you something or find something like that. I don't know if I have anything like right up on my screen, but I know exactly what you're saying now. Yeah, we certainly have things like that. I think, and I'll double check. I think we left like a mock of that in the back end of the pitch deck. Like this is kind of how to build it, but maybe I'm mistaken. Let me just go back in and check. I know we have that on a few specific one pagers that ourselves use that certain clients have created. So yeah, let me put together like a little example or template video of that.
yeah, and I know, Ray, it looks to me like video is your preferred style. It's just there's so many videos that are stacking up. I'm going to have a VA and run them through and like have them be transcribed, but it's on me, dude. There's so many videos to go through, and I'm just like, that's my constraint, getting through all the videos so I can get on the other side and get to market. So that's on me, man. But if you have a handy resource, that would be super chill for me. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I got what you're saying. I mean, what I would say to that, generally speaking, and I've heard that, I guess, from a few people, there is a lot of information, and you don't have to consume it all before you get started. You can start. What I tell people always is definitely understand, and if you're in the DaaS program, make sure you've at least got onboarding in the platform. Get familiar or comfortable audience building, whether that's attending the office hours workshop, which is the preferred way to get help with that, or getting some one-on-one help with one of our audience building reps like Lewis or Jaden or somebody like that, to get you proficient with it. But really, to start and to get results, it's picking a niche of the market, or maybe you already have that. Going to existing warm clients to start if you already have that. Otherwise, pulling a list for yourself, or getting a list of your market and starting to blast out some messaging and just get into conversations. But yeah, to your point also, Jason, you want to be sure that you know exactly what you're pitching and how much you're charging and what you're doing for options. But I think that resource that I give you guys every week and then I just dropped in the chat, like, builds out a lot of that for you, or at least gives you templates for how to build it out. I know there's a lot, but I tried to condense it down into like, hey, these 7 things. And even within there, I think only 2 or 3 are videos. The rest are like pitch decks or documents. You know what I mean? So they're just resources that go along and go hand in hand with the video.
No,
But
I
yeah,
got you. And by the way, you nailed it. That's exactly where we're at. We've met with, we're building our own taxonomies. We've met with, the data engineers to sort of guide us best practices on how to build for our own agency. But now, and we're taking that to the clients. I just need to know what's the offer that's just flying off the shelf right now, right? And
yeah, and a real basic way to answer that is, again, all of you guys are different, but a majority of people already came into either running some type of agency, and they're kind of bolting this on to either be an additional deliverable, to maybe be their lead deliverable, but to benefit their service. So just a slam dunk thing that a majority of agency owners can do easily and make revenue. Let's just say, Jason, that you're charging 2K per month and you already run an existing Facebook ad agency before having the data, right? Easiest and simplest way to do this is run your $2,000 offer those clients and future clients and prospects a premium data service where, hey, you can get our ad management service, or you can get our premium package where we give you in-market first-party data for higher quality targeting to lower your cost per lead and acquisition and get you even better results. This one's $2,000. This one's $2,500. You include one list with that. Each additional list your client needs per month, you tack on an additional $500. I mean, that's a very simple, basic way to do that. Depending on what DaaS program, I think you have the DaaS Lite, which is the 30 list, but maybe I'm mistaken, Jason. If you pulled 30 lists per month and sold them at $500 a pop, that's 15 grand for whatever the 2 grand if you pay, if you're in DaaS Lite. So like, that's just really quick way you could do it. And there's many cases where you can charge more than that, but that's just a good add-on to a monthly retainer service that's a quick sell, easy to explain, and distinguishes the value between standard and premium service.
yeah, no, that totally tracks. Where it's difficult for us is that we're not Facebook, we're not a media buying agency. And so we're coming at it from AI agents. And so this naturally bolts on to, my agents are getting you more booked appointments. Now let's go back and let's drive down your cost, for acquisition on the ad side. And we are looking right now, shopping for a media buyer to have in house, so we can go back to those clients and build better campaigns and whatever. So, and we want to go to market with this cold. Like, we want this to be top of the funnel for us. So
Gotcha.
our first instinct is, hey man, let's offer a pixel to show them data, circle back in 3 days and say, is this data useful? If so, to your point, $2,500 a month gets you this, or $3,500 gets you that. One,
Yeah.
two, confused mind doesn't buy. Two options, they've seen the data. I don't have to explain the power of the data because they can see it firsthand. And like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, is everyone else doing it that way? It sounds like they're doing it differently because they all have clients that are doing
Yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, whether they have existing, they're doing it differently because they're an ad agency and you're not, number one, right? So I can also talk about that. Now, I don't recall, because I've done quite a few of these in the last few months, but if you and I had a one-on-one THO MVP call, Jason, since you've enrolled?
We haven't actually. We have to do that for sure, 1,000%.
Okay, there's only your onboarding specialist, when you onboard in the platform, should have sent you all the information. Do you have the information?
I don't, and because we're going to Light, and I don't think I get to you through Light. I only get you when we go through DaaS, right? So we're in that.
Any DaaS program, are you an incubator or a DaaS program?
We're an incubator, but we've already upgraded to Light. We're waiting for our sales appointment, but that's a done deal. So we're Light.
If you've upgraded to Light, yeah, you still get access. Any DaaS client gets access to the one-on-one, and it doesn't matter what program you're in. The only people that don't get all of the reseller resources, and just to be clear, I usually specify this, people end up asking on every session, so maybe I start to overlook it now. But the big differences between incubator and DaaS is, number one, any DaaS program, you get access to more reseller resources and more data, of course, and access to some more one-on-one support than you would in incubator. Incubator is, generally speaking, to a starter program to test out the data, to maybe use it for one client, but there's just not enough data in there to get the full reseller stuff. So again, it's a good entry level point, and you could get in and make your money back or double your money back with incubator and then upgrade. But you don't get all the resellers resources, and you don't really even have enough data to be a full reseller until you get into a DaaS program. So those are some of the big differences, if anybody had any questions on that, or just to clarify. So Jason, if you just upgraded and you haven't yet gotten the information, I'll make sure to message you after the call. The next process is to get that one-on-one call with me, and let's get that set up, as soon as you have the ability to do it.
Raymond, so huge, man. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that.
That's part of the disconnect, though. If you weren't like in DaaS, or you just upgraded, and if you've just been into incubator up to now, you wouldn't have had access to necessarily everything you need to build out the full reseller process. It just doesn't. We try to give incubator clients a piece of that, and even extra, like that seller resource. Some of that stuff's just for DaaS clients, but I'll give it to the incubator people because I know they need it and it helps. But yeah, that's really the difference between the tiers and the programs.
Yeah. Love it, man. Looks like there's other people coming from AIs too, so that's good. All right, I'll shut up.
Yep. Now let me get into my stuff, and I'll go back to questions. I was going to save questions for the end, but I was just getting to it while I saw it in the chat. Either way, that's some relevant information and stuff I had to cover, and those are certainly questions other people have, because, as I said, not everybody is coming in with a Facebook ad agency. I'm just saying, out of everybody I talk to, that's the most common I see, that they're kind of bolting this onto that service, and it makes a lot of sense. And what a majority of them come back and say after 60 or 90 days is the biggest benefit they see. And this is kind of transferable to all other industries as well. But it's just really how to stand out in a more saturated market, because a lot of the other Facebook ad agencies can't offer this premium data and don't have this reseller package. Same with other, AI agents. They can have a lot of cool stuff. Doesn't mean they have access to this data feed, right? So it's a good bolt-on that helps you distinguish and be able to sell more off of value and deliverables than price competing. That's one thing I've noticed in a lot of agencies. I could talk ad agencies, copywriting, content. They've all kind of dropped their prices to compete with the market and not really distinguish themselves by providing more or different value. So that's what we have the ability to do, and that's what we need to leverage, guys. Yeah, I mean, we need to understand all the little deliverables and the features and how it works. And those all come pretty easily in a step-by-step fashion when you get in and start executing. But it's really about just being able to stand out, deliver better results, and position yourself as a value in the marketplace, and not competing over price and chopping down to $1,500 to take on this client or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of the feedback I got from the agencies that have like used this as their bolt-on, whether again it's a complementary or it becomes their kind of primary deliverable. That's one of the biggest things that we can leverage. So what I want to get into here today, guys, and let me go back into screen share mode. I did already drop that document with all those seller resources here on the screen in the chat there. But what I wanted to cover, and again, what my expertise and what these workshops are designed to do, and what I do in a couple other businesses, is sales training, sales development. And I've been investing in some high-level masterminds the last few weeks, looking into back-end businesses, seeing things I can implement into my businesses, some businesses I oversee and consult in. And I want to, bring some of this stuff here to you guys, because I think this is some high level sales stuff that's going to be relevant no matter what we're doing or selling and what business. Can we drop that again? You came in after. Yep, I will drop that again right now. Sorry, I shouldn't interrupted. Next question, I'll just say it to the end. But I'm in the middle of a sentence and I'm going to forget where I'm at. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, luckily I'm screen sharing, so it's really not that hard to forget where I'm at. But yeah, if anybody jumped on late and wasn't sure, no, you're fine, Jennifer. I could have just went back to it. That's my bad. Cool. Yeah, if anybody hopped in late and didn't see, this is just a seller resource document. Again, nothing pretty, nothing aesthetically pleasing. These are just the 7 best resources to build out your data sales process and to build a reseller agency. Whether you have an existing agency, you're bolting it on, I guarantee you there's something you're not doing in your sales process that you're going to pick up from here. Powerful messaging tools, triage call frameworks, scripts, pitch decks, pricing tools, kind of everything you need. And there's the link to that again. I just dropped it in the chat. Now back to where I was, kind of cutting edge. I call this, I just labeled this document. You can see the title at the top where I'm hovering my mouse, cutting edge sales SOPs, and some stuff I thought I wanted to share because this is a sales workshop. And these are some, high level type of sales overview stuff. So really, the purpose or this SOP is to provide a detailed breakdown of what I'm calling the ultimate sales blueprint. It's derived from a proven record of, thousands and thousands of closed deals and a bunch of different sales experience. So what it really broke down to is kind of this 6 key areas, which I'm going to go through a little more. Sales multipliers, sales training infrastructure, and you guys can read the definitions really quickly. I'm going to be talking about them all individually. So best call practices or best pre-call practices, in-call process, closing and objection handling, and mindset and team culture. Now, again, I'm talking about overviewing sales teams and businesses that have grown. In my own sales team, which has about 5 reps, we have about 22 full audience team members between support, onboarding, co-owners, tech and dev guys, and sales guys. But all these things come into play. You might think if you're selling for yourself, maybe this stuff doesn't come into play as much. Team culture wouldn't, but mindset always comes into play, really in any aspect of business. But I've noticed specifically in sales, and you guys will know me, I'm not a big woo-woo mindset guy per se, but to say it's not a factor in what people do and there's not limiting mindset beliefs that stop us from achieving things is just, it just makes no sense. It's not accurate, right? It's just false. So there is certainly, I'm not, again, a big woo-woo mindset. What I've noticed for myself, overcoming mindset or being uncomfortable in conversations, how do you come up with things spur of the moment, all that kind of stuff. For me personally, it came with confidence, which comes through experience and amount of reps and amount of calls taken, and then just your expertise. When you can deliver results in whatever you're doing, when you're confident that your product and your sales process and how you've been taught or what you've learned can actually convert people, all of a sudden all the mindsets, the obstacles start to fall like dominoes. You just hit one and they fall away, right? But it's a lot of the mindset things to overcome to get to that point, to get the experience, to get the reps, to get the confidence that kind of makes that fall away. So again, I'm not going to focus a ton on mindset, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it or my experience. Everybody can have a different thought on it. That's what I've noticed and found with me. I have very few limiting mindset beliefs. And again, once I had a certain level of confident results and expertise, that just kind of fell by the wayside. So these kind of SOPs are really best for business owners who are building or refining a sales team or plan to in the future and want to know some of the best practices. What I've noticed is a majority of businesses don't find this out till after they've built sales teams. So I bet you a majority of, I know talking to a majority of them, they wish they kind of knew this, years ago, but most people don't look into how to build a sales team before they're planning on it, right? It kind of goes with the territory and they kind of learn as they go. Sales managing, seeking step-by-step training processes, right? Some of you guys might be having reps underneath you or might want to manage a sales training or team and build out a training process, right? And then individual reps wanting kind of a clear formula to improve, which a lot of us are selling individually for ourselves. So what we're going to talk about is some outside the call set tactics. So this is one thing, like I actually, again, I'm just showing this to you guys now, and I just started really diving into and building this stuff out within the last 14 days through some masterminds and workshops I've been attending. And what I noticed is diving into 5 high-end SaaS and tech products that are similar to mine, but doing much more revenue and farther along than where I am and where I want to be. What I noticed is all 5 of those companies had their calendar open 7 days a week instead of 5. And when I ran the numbers on the behind the scenes on these 5 companies, they did, it says right there, I was going to say 29, and I think it was 21%. It was 29% increases selling by 29% annually. I think it was something like 21% more book calls and 29% more revenue, or vice versa, when I broke down the numbers. I broke down to simply by just having your calendar open a couple more days. Now, a lot of us think as high ticket business owners, or if we're working for ourselves specifically, like, hey, I do enough, I want weekends off, totally fine. But when you get to a point or building a sales team, especially in SaaS, high ticket softwares, tech, things like that, people are buying and people are booking 7 days a week. So no matter what you think, the numbers of the top 5 companies doing what I'd like to be doing tell me that I'm doing it wrong. Like I see it right there. So I'm actually doing interviews right now and hiring a new weekend rep as we speak. I already did 2 interviews today. I have 2 set for tomorrow. That's one of the changes I'm making there. But yeah, selling 7 days per week is certainly something you can look into as your sales team. Now, this might not apply to a lot of people right now, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's just good knowledge to know. Something I didn't know and something I just thought the market wasn't going to book those days. My reps didn't want to work those days. It's not going to make a difference. Well, 29% or 21% more call bookings, 29% more revenue. That's a difference, right? So for simple implementation, I have some SOPs and stuff, happy to share. But yeah, it's just add 2 extra days to your calendar, stagger schedules so reps rotate weekends, or hire a just solely weekend rep, which we decided to do, and track results to see if it's actually making a difference, which I'm almost certain it will, looking through the track record of the people that are doing this, right? Our response time to leads, and we all know with AI now, this is becoming quicker and quicker. I think this is a little overkill in under a minute. I think under 5 minutes is certainly fine, but there are a lot of businesses doing it right now in under 1 minute. If we have the capability to, why wouldn't we set the goal for that, right? So the fastest we can contact somebody after they have opted in, after they've raised their hand, the better chance we're going to have of actually booking them, speaking with them, and ultimately enrolling them into a product or program, right? So quick little overview there. Scheduling time slots. I mean, we could go through this. I don't think this is going to be relevant for a lot of you guys. This is more for building teams. But the real principle is offer short increments, 15-minute start times for higher show rates. A lot of you guys may or may not know when you booked your first call with Audience Lab, it was probably a 20-minute increment, which is normally what we do on individual calls. Like we had certain demo call that you could book a 30-minute, but primarily through our round robin that throws through our ads and our funnels, they book in 20-minute increments. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, especially for initial calls. A lot of people have booking links just for 45 or 60-minute strategy sessions or demos. You're going to book a lot less people that way. You're a lot better off booking a 15 or 20-minute call to start. Give yourself a buffer and turn it into a longer one if you need to, or do it in the process that I show you and make it a 2-call process. Educate them more and really don't plan on closing until the second call, just so you can pre-qualify and educate on that first call. So there are reasons you could do that, and a lot of SOPs. The term feed the killers, what's the principle behind that? And it just basically means prioritizing your strongest closer to have higher priority of getting more appointments and to handle your best leads first as well, right? So maximizes your ROI as a business owner, especially if you're spending money on marketing, by matching closers with top prospects, and increases total revenue and rewards the high performers, which you always want to do in sales teams. If your sales staff knows they're incentivized and they perform better, they're going to get the hottest or the best leads first. They're going to be much more likely to do so. Sorry guys, hold on, I left my door open. Let me just shut that real quick. My bad. So again, yep, we went through that. Lead scoring, which we do internally. I wouldn't do this, and I didn't do this really until I was more established, but it's however we're identifying. So whatever information we're getting in a pre-qualified fill form, however you're doing this, right? Everybody does this a little differently, but biggest budgets, highest intent, and they go right into your CRM, obviously. I think all do, but you really want to identify them. And you can have things within your CRM, depending on which software you use, that will sort by these if you set it up in the parameters. Then obviously assigned to the top reps, which we have this all automated. Some people early on manually funnel, which I used to do back in the day when I first built out my teams and I only had 2 or 3 reps. I would manually funnel those top leads to my best closer, either or. And then, when you start, this is more when you start to build up more and more, but if new closers want better leads, they must graduate by closing less qualified leads consistently. So it's kind of your internal ranking. In other words, seniority doesn't always necessarily lead to guaranteed status. It's performance, especially in sales, right? So when building a sales team, I think that's important to show that just because you've been here longer doesn't necessarily mean you always get the better leads, but if you're performing better, you'll always get the better leads, right? Increasing show rate and praising high show rate reps. So the second one, again, is more relevant to when building out teams, but the first one is relevant to any of us booking appointments, whatever. I don't care if you're booking 4 appointments a week or 44 appointments a week or 144. Increasing show rates is always relevant, right? So the principle is obviously show rate boost can yield higher overall revenue. We all know that. And easier actually than raising the close percentage. We always want to focus on both. It's easier to raise show rates than close rates. Trust me. And really, this is why it works, because every 20% in show rate equals 20% more at bats, leading to more sales. I mean, there's no way around it. The math can't not math, for lack of a better phrase. If your team's getting more at bats, you're going to close more deals. It's just common sense, right? And it's really the easiest lever to pull and switch. A lot of people, I don't overlook this. They just think it's par for the course, right? I get a 40% show rate. I get a 50% show rate, and they settle, or they think there's, that's industry standard. Even if it is industry standard, why do you want to be standard? You'd want to be better than standard. At least I always do in all aspects of business and how I operate. So if there's a low-hanging fruit or an easy thing to tweak, I think it's this. Honestly, I think there's the least amount of effort and the easiest or lowest amount of skill set and talent needed to really increase show rates in your offers. And again, easy trigger to pull, like try raising close rates from 35 to 55%, for example. That's automatically going to make a difference in that business's bottom line, right? So how do you implement this, right? One thing, and again, some of this is more for praising the high show rates, right? But more this is for more team building, but we praise the reps, and I actually shout out winners on my team meetings and team huddles, and who's got the highest close percentage, who had the most cash collected, who's got the best show rates. We highlight the winners and we praise them. One thing, and this has been covered in quite a few sales trainings. I can't say all, but quite a few sales trainings I've done, is manual touch points. Even if you have an automated and a great workflow set up in GHL or whatever CRM, and it's giving them the 1-day reminder, the 24-hour reminder, whatever, the 1-hour reminder, whatever you have set up, 1 to 2 manual touch points in your sales process increases show rates just solely by itself about 20% from what I've seen. So, for instance, how I do this is like, especially when I have an automated process in a CRM and it's already blasting them, I'll take my manual cell phone number. Not to say I can't do this from the CRM. I've seen a better result. I'll take my manual cell phone. I'll pull the guy up in the CRM and I'll shoot him a text. Oh, hold on. Somebody just came unmuted. Anyway, I'll shoot him a text. Hey, Bob, this is Ray from Audience Lab. I know we have an appointment set here for tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. I just wanted to make sure we were still on track and nothing unexpected came up. Looking forward to our chat tomorrow. By the way, this is my personal number. I know you probably received a couple automated messages. Just in case we get disconnected, you can reach me directly here. Boom. By sending that one additional message, and then I send something similar, this says 24 hours morning of and 1 hour before. That's probably best practice. On average, I usually do the 24-hour and the 1 hour before. I've noticed that 3 can kind of be overkill, but I'd rather have more than less, just in case one gets overlooked or one gets missed. But anyway, 1 day before and then an hour before. Hey, Bob, looking forward to our meeting here in an hour. I just wanted to let you know all my meetings are going according to schedule, and I plan to be on time. See you there. Boom. Just those couple little things manually built into your process and just a little personal touch point increases show rates dramatically. And I've seen it over and over again. And I still have so many reps that I work with, and this is in all my SOPs and in all my requirements, but it's the one thing in terms of like the outreach process and the communication from a rep and a prospect that still requires a manual effort to do. So you can't force somebody to do something, right? I still have a lot of team members that overlook this, that are like, oh, we have all the automations. And then they realize real quick when we get a new rep in here who starts doing this. I actually had this happen on a team meeting, I think it was last week, when one of my senior reps said to my younger rep, Adrian, to Jordan, hey, Jordan, I noticed you've had a real high show rate lately. Are you doing something different than mine? He goes, no, I was just following Ray's SOP to a T. He goes, the extra personal messages, I think, added a little touch point. And Adrian's like, oh, I kind of dropped doing that because I took it for granted. So that just, again, reiterated my point exactly. It's just going that extra step and just mixing these little things in. So again, a lot of little tiny steps, which you guys, no matter what you're doing right now, everybody on this call, whether looking to start an agency, whether just taking a couple calls yourself, whether you actually have reps or a more larger team and you're growing a team, there's not one or two little things you can't take out of this and say, shoot, I'm not doing that, or I can improve that, or I can add that in. So again, some of this might be overwhelming, or you might be like, hey, that's for like a team down the road, which might be. But some of this, there's little things that we can all pick up and be like, damn, I need to implement that, or I'm not doing that, and little things. Also, this should be common sense, but same day, next day scheduling, right? Encourage prospects to book either later half of that day or first half of next day in a 12 to 24-hour window, if possible. Quite a few of our booking calendars, unless we're getting overbooked and we either need to hire a new rep and we're just getting more and more volume, which happens, we'll extend it, but we don't let booking rates go more than 72 business hours out. So we really try to push for 24 to 48-hour booking, but the calendar won't let people book more than 72 hours out because there's a drastic drop off with each day out that they book, especially beyond 72 hours. But you'll notice a drop off from booking 24 hours out to 48 hours out to 72 hours out, and then a huge drop off for anything further than that. So again, encouraging early same day, next day scheduling. Right. This is more, and I'm not going to go too much into this. I was going to kind of highlight what's important. I know this is a really extensive document, and if I went in depth about every aspect, we can get through the whole thing. So the things that are more about daily huddles and role plays, these are the things I do as a sales team leader, and we can talk about, but I don't think are super relevant. Now, the one-on-ones between you and your reps, again, probably only relevant to maybe a couple of you guys on the call, but I think it is relevant even if you are a business owner looking to eventually or very shortly replace yourself with a rep. Like, hey, I'm bootstrapping and I'm kicking off. And once I land my first 5 clients, I'm bringing in a rep and I'm going to focus more on fulfillment and marketing and outreach and let them close the deals, right? Whatever. It's good to know a couple of these things on how you can actually personally help your rep or get them up to speed. In addition, if you have a team, it's still good to get on one-on-ones with individual reps and address certain things. But really, it's just like, this is what I do kind of weekly. My reps submit 2 calls to me for audits. I recommend that be what they felt was the strongest and weakest call of the week. And what I mean by that, guys, is not strongest and weakest prospect or deal, but where did I feel like, man, I slammed this one out of the park and it was either a seamless close or it should have closed, but it didn't. And man, I just felt like I stumbled. I was weak. I just didn't perform well on this call. And I can give them the best feedback based on what they felt was their highest and lowest performing call. So I'm seeing both ends of the spectrum, and they're not sending me all of their great one call closes, right? If a rep always sends me all their best calls, I really can't help them get that much better. But I do like to see their high end and low end and see that trajectory grow. You'll notice when you work with the guys, even if you have one rep and you're doing this with, or with a team, you'll notice their growth and their trajectory through, like, when you listen to somebody's best call and then they've been selling for you for 5 months and you listen to their best call that week, you're like, oh my God, this is the same rep I was coaching 4 months ago that I still had to, teach this rudimentary stuff. And now he's like next level. And it's cool listening to how they improve and develop and come along, right? And it's really good to, and this is what I do. I like to keep things really simple, and I like to identify one thing to go work on and focus on. And when I do a call audit with somebody that's like submitting one for DaaS as opposed to my own rep, I want to give them a bunch of talking points. But like when I'm working with a rep on my team, when I get done with the call, I'm like, hey, Adrian, hey, Jordan, whoever it is, go focus on this one thing specifically, and let's get better at this, and then we'll talk about the next thing, right? It's a little different format than like if I'm doing this for somebody that I just want to give basic information to. That's like, hey, this is some talking points that you can work on for your next 10 calls, as opposed to, hey, based off the 2 calls you gave me this week, this is what I want you to work on this week. Maybe it's for a month you work on this. Maybe it's not just a week, right? And then drill and assign homework. So whatever that is, you would provide a specific script tweak to the framework. tweak to their cadence, to the verbiage you're using, the vernacular, right? Whatever you want to, whatever that thing happens to be. I just put one for an example there, right? Game tape. So again, similar to what I was talking about, reviewing sales and that feedback loop. So sales and customer success meet weekly to review recorded calls. Again, this is a little more for team building. So you guys can just kind of read this over real quick, or if you're watching the replay, pause it if I scroll too fast. I'm not going to go through all of this kind of more advanced stuff. I want to go into some more the more basic pre-call practices down below. You'll see some competitions and shared goals. I talked a little about that. Again, much more integral for team building than maybe an individual business owner or one rep. But pre-call best practices are good no matter what level you're at, whether you're taking calls yourself, whether you have a rep, whether you're building a team, whether you want to start taking calls next week and you haven't yet. Understand best pre-call practices. There's always going to be some takeaways here, right? So understand the sale begins at the click, right? And that's one thing I think a lot of business owners overlook. Your sales process has different phases, right? Top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, and the actual sale on your initial outreach, whether it's an ad, whether it's an email, the sale is really just to create intrigue, interest, enough for them to raise their hand and say, I want more information. I want to see that resource. I want to book a call, whatever. That's your sale. But I think a lot of people are trying to create their front end messaging and ad, trying to think about selling that back end $2,500 or $5K a month service or whatever, when they're not focusing on the little sale that's made in each step along the way, right, guys? So I think that can be real relevant as well. And the more we understand that as a business owner and operator, whether we're doing a one-man show or building this out and having little departments, eventually, if any of us get, or all of us get to where we want to be, we're going to have a department for that at some point, or somebody overseeing it. We're not going to be the end-all, be-all operations manager running every aspect of the business, unless you never want to get more than 25K months. Then maybe you can do that, and that's totally cool too. There's nothing wrong with that. But any of us that want to grow, mid, 50K, 100K, large agencies, there's going to be times where you're going to be delegating things and you're not in the front end of the business anymore. You're working in this or whatever. So, understanding the process yourself, so you can then delegate that and make sure each department just knows about, hey, your job here is to create intrigue, curiosity, and make them raise their hand. Your job here, now that they raise their hand, is educate, inform, and get them up to speed and hook them into a call. Your objective on the triage call, your sale, is only twofold, right? Number one is to pre-qualify and make sure they're a good fit and they actually have the problem that your solution provides and you can help them. And number two is a soft yes or financial pre-qualifier, right? Something along the lines of, hey, Bob, when we meet Thursday, I demo this software, and if everything makes sense financially and it all lines up, is there anything that would stop us from moving forward and investing in your business on that call, right? So that's another thing I preface. So those are my two sale points or talking points on a triage call. And my real sale on that call is booking them to the next call, which a triage call, generally designed, once I pre-qualified, once I've done my soft yes or my financial pre-qualifier, and I know I'm going a little ahead. I'm just kind of going off script here for a second. But once I've done all that on that particular process, it's, hey, what I recommend is we only have 15 minutes here. Let me send over a couple homework assignments. And guys, in the DaaS process, you'll see in those videos and resources that I've already given you guys in the link I dropped in the chat, that stuff is all mapped out, all those resources and everything we use. You can repurpose those and make those with your own access into the platform if you're a DaaS user. But again, hey, Bob, so what I recommend is we only had 15 minutes. I'm going to send you these videos. You go through these. I'm going to rebook you in for and then on the sales call, my goal now is walking along the way. I had a different objective and a different actual sale for the part in the process you're at, right? So I took that much more in depth, but I kind of wanted to go a little off my script there and just talk about how I view this. But basically everything from the ad to the scheduling page to the confirmation text, they all set the tone of how your business is viewed, how you are perceived, and really into, will they show up and will they ultimately convert, right? So understanding all those things I just talked about tie right into that. So aligning marketing and sales prospects, so copy, so the prospect sees consistency, right? A lot of times marketing and sales are almost competing with one another or butting heads with one another, and they're not on the same page when this really has to align. I mean, the marketing is just gathering attention to get them over to your sales guys who take that attention and convert that into customers, clients, dollars, whatever you want to call it, right? But they still have to work in unison. Those departments shouldn't be competing or butting head. They should be having a feedback loop. Hey, marketing, this is what I'm seeing. Hey, sales, this is what I'm seeing. And instead, what they do is blame one another. Sales guys, oh, the leads suck. That's why I'm not closing deals. Marketing guys, I keep sending leads, but my sales guys couldn't close a freaking barn door to save their life, right? It's a constant blame game rather than just joining up as a team and saying, what feedback are you giving? What feedback? How can we align and how can we work together to make this better? Right? That's it, right? Proof and pre-frame. So insert awards and recognition in your scheduling or your confirmation steps. What they're saying there is, or what I'm saying there is really to gamify the process a little more, make it more interactive, maybe have some polls in there, give away bonus videos or workshops, whatever, all kinds of ways that you can do this. We can talk about that more in depth, right? And then edify the closer. So the setter or confirmation text can mention, you'll be speaking with Bob, who's helped over 400 clients just like you, started that agency, right? Whatever, anything along those lines. And again, that comes, I talk about that and break that down in much more depth in the specific resources I sent over with mapping out the sales process. So guys, that's what I want to cover for now. I'm going to cover the back half of this document just because there's so much more and I want to leave time for a Q&A. And I only got a little over halfway through in 40 something minutes. I know we did some Q&A, but I'm going to highlight and we'll go through section. I meant to stop at 4, but I kind of started 4-1. We'll get in and start with the Bant Solve and zombies aspect on the next time I bring up the lesson. But I really wanted to dive into some of these overall best practices, SOPs, and really, in my experience, what I've seen, what I'm taking away, what I'm implementing, and hopefully there's some things you guys can implement. So now I'm going to go look at the chat because while I was screen sharing and teaching and see if there's any questions or comments. But what I would like you guys to do is if you want me to cover something, you want to ask something more in depth or any question regarding sales of the data, messaging, either put the hand emoji, hand raise emoji here on your Zoom screen or just type a 1 in the chat and I will call on you and you can unmute. Yep, that's a good point, Jason. I'm just reading some of your messages. Yep. Yeah, 75% show rate is top of the expectation. So my team performs at about an 80% rate when everything's really dialed in, and that's kind of what we see. But yeah, you're right in that ballpark, 75, 80%. My team KPI and what's expected is 66%. Once we get below that, we need to review stuff. But yeah, we see 75 to 80% when things are operating smoothly, 100%. What commission percentage makes sense to hire and keep salespeople? So it can vary industry to industry, niche to niche. What I see, generally speaking, just across the whole high ticket industry is about a 10% commission rate of the cash collected. What I see more with high ticket SaaS, because even high ticket software is still only, because it's monthly recurring, high tickets looked at a little different than selling a 10K coaching program or consulting, right? So high ticket SaaS, I think, is anything, between say $997 and $49.97 monthly recurring revenue and up, right? But there's not too many high ticket SaaSes that are much more than 5K a month that we're going to be diving people into. So specifically with high ticket SaaS, I offer, and this is what we pay our reps, guys, and I'll be totally transparent with you. They get a 20% cash collected because it's not quite as high as selling high ticket coaching, consulting, marketing. And then we give them a 5% MRR override. So for instance, very quick math. If my setter closes 10K in business, 20% of that is 2K in commissions, and then that 10K is now MRR for the next month. He already has $500 sitting in his kitty for next month, 5% of that. The next month he sells another 10K in business, $2,000 in commissions. Now he made his 500, so he made 2,500 that much. Next month he already has 1,000 sitting in his kitty of MRR because he's got a 5% override on now 2 months of revenue, and that keeps snowballing. So again, we've upped it a little as we've grown, and we take care of our salespeople because they're the lifeblood of growing a company. I mean, all of our team is, but we like to pay above market value if possible, and now we can afford to do that. I think we pay a little loftier than some of our competition, but we've also had reps on the team for 2 solid years. You see a lot of teams with sales reps, bopping around looking for opportunities, more volume, higher percentage, higher ticket prices, so I can get a better commission even if the percentage isn't as high, right? So when you treat guys right, but that's what I've seen generally speaking, Ed, to answer your question. Um, Now, Ed, you had your hand raised too. Was that the same question, or do you have something else
Nope.
in addition to that?
I got a different question.
Fire away.
All right, so I was wondering, so when you get customers on to Audience Lab, what kind of attrition are we seeing month over month? I mean, do customers typically stick around longer than 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and have we done this in a long?
Seen plenty of data on this. Um, Again, it's so variable depending on what services you're offering, how good your support is. But just on the data alone, if you are the best in terms of support fulfillment and you're dotting your T's and crossing your I's, we see about a 66 to 80% recurring rate. So that would be a 20 to 34% drop rate within 90 to 120 days. So anywhere between 66 to 80% of our clients are keeping people 90 to 120 days and beyond. Hopefully that
Okay.
answers your question.
It does. And what about the difference between, say, the consumer market and the B2B market? Do we find that it's an easier sell to go after businesses that are running ads for business-based products or consumer-based products? What seems to work better with our audiences?
That's a great question. So I think for us as DaaS agencies, it works best for us to go after businesses, but they want the consumer data to get the end result. You know what I'm saying? So it's like most of the businesses we're going after ultimately is going after consumers. Yes, there are businesses going after other businesses, but I think ultimately I've seen better results and longer attrition, and longer, just better just in the consumer data in the end. I think that's who a majority of business owners ultimately target.
Well, they do, but I mean, consider, if I'm dealing with an HVAC company, which is used in a lot of examples, and I'm going after businesses that are looking for new customers for HVAC, that's really different than looking for businesses that are going after customers for clothing, right? Because how many people are out there with the intent to buy clothing, and whether or not they're going to buy your particular brand is completely different than saying, I'm a local market, I do HVAC services, right? So I guess the target demographic is going to be completely different. So I look at that as the HVAC company is more what I mean by a business market versus the clothing brand is more consumer market.
Again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. I don't think there's one way better or the other. What I think is the biggest difference there is you're talking about services versus physical products. It's not necessarily business to business or business to consumer. It's services versus products, which is different price points, different marketing, different conversion rates. There's so many different variables. This succeeds with both. I mean, I see a lot of people going to e-com that's just strictly consumer products, and people buying pens and hats and whatever. So I don't think there's a right or wrong there. I think that depends more on where you align with and who are you better to help? Are you better to help service-based businesses or product-based businesses?
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, and sorry for the echo.
No. You're good. You're good. I didn't see anyone else, so I always connect with my prospects during automated messages. I scolded my setter team for marking messages as read without letting me know. I see what you're saying there. That's a good point. Good point. I give away a freebie. They get on the call first time. Yeah, that's something I like to do. I give away freebies, and I also position things as just bonuses, or maybe something that wasn't set in my agenda to give away, just something that's relevant to the conversation. Oh, I did a workshop on that, or I interviewed a guest on, or whatever, right? And just a little bonus or something that's specific and relevant to them. The longer you've been in business and the more resources and connections you have, obviously the more to have of those. So to start, you want your just set giveaway, whatever that is. And generally speaking, when I build those out, those are used to educate them more about your product, right? And educate more about the gap and the problem, the solution, and the gap, and why this is the primary solution. And that's really what I'm trying to do with my freebie. I think of every step of the sales process. You guys will see in that video and that training where I map out a micro commitment sales process. That's 6 steps. Each step of that sales process, in my mind, my main objective is each step, they should be a little more educated and sophisticated as to my brand, my solution, my product, and my offer. And then when they get on that final sales call, step 6, they're in the buying pocket and ready to make a decision, right? So I talk about that in much more depth, but just to elaborate off what I was reading and on that topic itself. Do you do your triage calls via video or phone? I do all mine, and my team does them all via video. Not to say there's a right or wrong here, but especially with a software or anything really, I mean, more specific with the software. But now that I say that, I did this selling coaching and consulting as well. I like to mix in a bit of visual sales. I know a lot of people, the visual really gets across. What I could explain to somebody on a phone, they might pick up a lot better in a lot less words by me being able to show them. So I like to have the ability to implement visual sales and visual aids within my calls. So that's the main reason I prefer that. I mean, in addition, I've always noticed, although your phone or Zoom, it just feels like it's a little more personable, this way. And the better you can relate to somebody and the more personable you can become, I think the more likely that they are to buy. So that's kind of my take on that. How do you qualify lead up to the triage? Do you have them complete a short questionnaire before? Yeah, so there's a couple ways. I love to do that in my messaging and call them out. So you'll see this in a lot of ads, right? Hey, agencies doing over 10K a month. Hey, people spending over 5K on ads. Hey, if you have a business with at least 20 customers, whatever. So I kind of want to start with my messaging pre-qualifying right before they even, if you're not this person, you shouldn't be watching the ad or reading the email anymore. If you are, you're kind of wasting both of our time, right? And I'd like to just call people out. So in addition, yes, we do a form or questionnaire before the triage. I don't have ours in front of mine just because I don't have in front of me, just because I don't have GHL up. But I think what we get from people, just off the top of my head, and don't quote me on this, I can go back in and show you, but roughly we're getting, are you a current agency or brand that is spending at least 5K or more on ads? So we ask that. Are you looking to implement or start an agency? If they answered no to number one, we at least want to know, if you're not currently spending, are you looking to start an agency or have you started one, right? We specify this technology is made and works best with brands or advertisers spending a minimum of 5K a month. If you don't have that in your budget, you probably shouldn't book. So like we say a few things, but we got to find out their existing revenue, their existing ad spend, and just making sure it's a priority. Something I always put, I forget exactly how we have it worded, but hey, you're booking a call with a data and tech company. This technology is really only suited for companies looking to grow and scale here in 2025 and beyond. So if you're content with where you're at or not big into investing into your business and growing, we're probably not a fit, right? So we use little authority lines, things in our messaging, pre-qualifying parameters based around revenue, ad spend. Now, those metrics could change in all of our businesses and offers, but those are just some of the criteria that I would try to get before a call. If somebody doesn't qualify whatsoever and books, we'll honestly go in and cancel their call, because it should disqualify them, but somehow people can override even though if they know that they shouldn't. But our system will go in and call them out on that and cancel them off the appointment, and they'll have to actually call and speak to somebody and get pre-qualified. So it really depends how far you want to take it, but those are just some of the thoughts or some of the things that we do. The more of your content a prospect consumes, the more. 100%. 100%. That's something I've certainly went on to see. Victor, you direct message me. I'll get back to you when I get a minute. The ones that you guys DM me directly, I'm not going to read in front of everybody. You probably message me for a reason. Do you cap salespeople MRR on the long tail? Is it like, I would have to check with my CFO who does payroll. I don't believe so, Jason, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it's as long as they stay on the platform, to be honest. I really do, but I would have to check with my CFO. He does all the payroll and payout. I have a pretty good understanding about rep commissions, but I don't actually pay them out, so I'm not 100% sure. Ed, getting back to you, Jacko. Oh, yeah.
Ready for?
Yes, being president, cool. So I don't see anybody else that typed the one in the chat. Anybody else for for questions specifically about sales, about data, about what I covered today? And guys, I did probably cut it off at the right time. So either next week or the following week, I'm going to dive into the second half of that lesson and finish that document. Again, hopefully some of that stuff, my one worry with bringing this to you guys is a lot of you guys might not have sales teams. And I know some of that stuff is sales team oriented, but I'm hoping there's at least something that you can pick up, right? So, yep, Jason, I'm going to DM you all that information. We had just talked about it. I'm going to DM you all that information after the call. And to answer your question, Victor, are you still on? Okay, I'm just going to answer your question out loud because no one else can see it. But yes, we are. We are for 1 or 2 part-time roles. Now I said it out loud. Victor asked, hey, Raymond, you guys hired? Yeah, we're hiring for 1 or 2 part-time roles. I actually really only 1 part-time role. I filled the full-time role last week. I have 1 part-time role, and I have a couple roles in entry-level positions in some of my other businesses that aren't necessarily Audience Lab. But I am hiring for a few things right now. I'm kind of always hiring between what I do, whether it's Audience Lab, Guys, I run another company called PDocs, which is a communication, messaging, and outreach company. I have a lot of done-for-you clients, which I place appointment setters into their businesses. So I hire for that. I run a company called the Sales Lab, where I build and manage sales teams. And some guys, like a recruiting guy in one of the positions, I just filled a full-time B2B great sales position for anybody in my network that was interested. About a week ago, a hiring manager reached out and said, Ray, I know you do sales rep training, development, placement. I love your style. We've worked together. Can you refer me over some reps? I have this opportunity. I'm like, yeah, I got like 5 people in my pipeline at least that are interested. I could probably get you more. And I referred over 5 candidates. He's filling that position. So I kind of always have opportunities. If you guys aren't connected, join on my Facebook or follow me or whatever sometime. I post when I have opportunities very often. Sometimes I'll just DM people if I know they're interested. But yeah, anybody ever looking for opportunities in sales, copywriting, digital businesses, I post about them, I place them, or I hire them pretty regularly. I can't say I always have positions, but it doesn't seem to be long and something comes across my desk. And I think last week when I posted, I had like 5 positions or 5 people to place within 2 weeks. And I've already got most of those filled and I'm interviewing for a couple more of them still, but yep. I went in a bit more. Ed, did you type in one more time? You have one more question?
I did. Yes, I did. So you just mentioned Sales Lab, and does that mean that you were just saying, hey, I'm concerned that some of this information is really meant for sales teams? I know maybe many of you don't. Well, having been on this call, you just convinced me to start building up a sales team. That's what you've just done. And so with Sales
That wasn't
Lab,
my goal, but cool.
Well, that's okay. I know that I need to do it. I see everybody doing it who's in my sphere, and I went, you know what? I need to stop trying to do everything on my own. It's time to build a team. I know better than to deal with all this minutia. So with that in mind, if I come to Sales Lab and I talk to you, can you help me get people, or should I just go elsewhere?
Totally. Yeah. Just DM me on school or follow me on Facebook. I'm most active in Facebook Messenger, especially for my other businesses. For Audience Lab, I'm very responsive in school. But either one, shoot me a DM and we can certainly discuss.
All right, Raymond, I'll do that now. Thanks a lot.
I'll tell you more about what I do, how it works, and pretty much anything you need, whether it comes to hiring, managing, building it, pretty much everything. But we'll talk about it more. I try not to go too much into my other businesses on Audience Lab, but they all are combined though. Like PDocs was the foundation in the building and everything that we do in Audience Lab. So all of our communication, our copywriting, our ads, our messaging, that all came from our PDocs training. Everything with building my sales team internally and all the ones I manage come from my Sales Lab business, where I've closed over 10 million in deals myself. My business partner in Sales Lab over 20 million, and the amount of reps we've trained in place with ethical, solution-based, integral sales. There's over 100 million generated by the reps we place in businesses. So yeah, I kind of have everything covered when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, I'm just getting sick of learning. I want to start making some money. Let's go.
There you go. I mean, there's time to learn and there's time to make money and there's time to pay somebody so you can skip that and just make money. I mean, and everybody's at their own pace. There's no right or wrong. You know what I mean? Michael, you typed something, direct message. Enterprise SaaS here. Going to shoot you a message about power. Okay, cool. Yep. Go ahead. Feel free to shoot me a message. Hey, can you drop your calendar link? Want to set a call to go through and get on? Yeah, Jennifer, can you tell me what program are you in? You can either just type in the chat or on mute.
Yeah, I'm in the sorry. I'm in the DaaS program, the DaaS agency program, and we've been using it a lot for ourselves, but now I actually want to get into figuring out a good way to sell it.
Sure. What I'll do is, I don't know if you heard earlier on, if you were on the whole time, I was talking with Jason a little. He needs to book one of those calls with me. So I'll send you all the same information, my booking link, the pre-call videos that will get you ready for it, the document and everything you need. I'll shoot it over to you either in a DM in school or email or wherever we decide, but I'll reach out to you shortly after the call.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. All right, guys, that will wrap it up for this week. Good questions. Thank you for the interaction, the questions, Ed, Jason, I think he had to bounce, and a couple other people in the chat. I appreciate the questions. Yeah, anybody that had mentioned in the DMs, feel free to shoot me a message, add me on Facebook, shoot me a message in school. I'll try to be pretty responsive, and we'll catch up next week. And anybody else, just so you know, we have the workshop recordings in the DaaS for Clients. But no matter which school, in the school for clients, I know it's a little confusing. We have 2 school communities now. So regardless of which one you're in, I will go post the recording of this and the replay within the hour in each school community as well. Sorry, just seeing this now, Andrew. So Andrew, really quickly before I have to hop off, can you unmute? What program are you in?
I'm in the DaaS Lite, but I'm getting ready to move into full DaaS.
God, it doesn't, as long as you guys are in DaaS plans, that's all I'm specifying. Even if you're going up, even better. So you've never had a one-on-one call or the what we call the THO offer call with me?
No,
Okay, cool. And do you remember approximately when you enrolled, just so I can look at your account real quick?
like November. Adrian was my rep.
Oh shit, that's a long time. You definitely should have been on that. Yeah, let me get you over that information. I'll look back into your account. So
Okay,
I got
thank you.
Jason, Jennifer, and Andrew that have never had that call that are in Dallas. All right, got it, guys. I will catch up with you guys next week,
Great.
and I will have this recording uploaded within the hour into both school communities as well for you guys. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.